My name is Bill. Welcome to the Night Terrors Weekend Show. If you truly appreciate real-life supernatural journeys into the void, do not even think of missing tonight's episode. Creepy Urban Legends. Urban legends can happen to you. Tonight we will cover the most creepy of these accounts, and we're starting right now. Here at Insider.com, oh, you're very welcome, Chili Bean. Thank you. We have an article by Gabby Shaw entitled The Creepiest Urban Legend from Every State. And just so we can be unpredictable here, let's start from the bottom of the list rather than the top. Last state is going to be Wyoming, the Devil's Tower. And the author writes, there's no scientific consensus on why Devil's Tower looks the way it does. But multiple Native American creation stories attribute the landmark shape to a tragedy. According to the various stories, two boys were attacked and chased by a large bear, so they ran up the rock formation. The bear tried to follow, but could not make the climb and left scratches all the way down the rock as it slid down, according to Rapid City's tourism website. Thank you, Elder, for the super chat. Elder Grown says, come for the spooky, stay for the thrill. Quality content, Night Terrors with Bill. Thank you, Elder. Much appreciated, sir. Jordan Cogburn is here, as well as Big Al1. And Michael Russum says hello to everyone. He's a poet and doesn't know it. Next up. Wisconsin, Boy Scout Lane. The story of what exactly happened at Boy Scout Lane varies, but they all end with the same conclusion. A group of Boy Scouts expired and lying down on the road. In some stories, McDowell News reported there was a bus crash with no survivors, or they were dispatched by their bus driver, or they just mysteriously vanished into the woods, one by one. Visitors have reported seeing a swinging body in the trees, feeling as though they were being watched, and finding child-size handprints. I guess those are child-size handprints on their car windows, I guess. Next up. Of course, from West Virginia, Mothman. Mothman in Chicago. In 1966, stories say that West Virginia was visited by an insectoid flying creature with bright red eyes who resembled both a moth and a man, according to Atlas Obscura. He was spotted flying around the town of Point Pleasant, along with shining lights and the equally conspiratorial Men in Black. Mothman's origins have been claimed as supernatural or alien or a government experiment gone wrong. But Point Pleasant has embraced the monster, erecting a statue, creating a museum, and even dedicating a festival to him. In 2002, a film starring Richard Gere called The Mothman Prophecies was released to great acclaim. What's next in reverse order on the states? Welcome, Casual Kitty. Washington, of course, Bigfoot. One of the most famous Bigfoot sightings. Bigfoot is an internationally recognizable name. It has been spotted all over the country. But Bigfoot has been spotted the most in Washington State. According to an online database compiling all Bigfoot sightings, number 2 after Washington is Nebraska. Bigfoot is essentially a gigantic ape-like creature who is either a ferocious beast who attacks loggers and hikers, or a gentle giant who wants to be left alone. Either way, there's something creepy about an undiscovered species of animal, one might say hominid, wandering around the Pacific Northwest, evading capture. And next up, in reverse alphabetical order of the states, is the Bunny Man of Virginia. Welcome, Yellow Rose for Texas. The Bunnyman's legend starts with what every good urban legend starts with: an insane asylum. As reported by WAMU 88.5 FM, the people of Clifton were so up in arms about the asylum that they were able to get all the patients transferred. The patients were being moved on a bus that crashed, and the police were able to catch all the patients except one, the Bunny Man. According to the tale, the Bunny Man lived in the woods and sustained himself on woodland creatures like bunnies. But eventually he graduated to attacking humans. Looks like we have a cannibal situation there. Then we have Vermont, the frozen people. First appearing in a diary that was published in the late 1800s. If I can get it to stay one place here. The legend of the hibernating old people recounts the tale of a poor family outside of Montpelier who couldn't afford to feed and clothe the oldest members of their family. So they froze the people and buried them, reported by the Vermonter. According to the tale, when spring rolled around, the elders thawed out, and they were just fine. Whoa, a little bit fast there. We're skipping important states like Utah here. Let's not do that. Utah, the curse of the Escalante Petrified Forest. While it is illegal to take anything from the Escalante Petrified Forest State Park, there's a legend that says that anyone who takes pieces of petrified wood from the park will be cursed with bad luck, sickness, and accidents, as reported by KSL. Park manager Kendall Farnsworth told KSL in 2014 that he gets about a dozen packages every year containing a piece of wood from the park and an apologetic letter detailing the sender's misfortunes. KSL must be one of the first AM radio stations. That's back when they had only 3 call letters. An insane amount of power, too. KSL must have a very powerful reach. Next up, in reverse alphabetical order of state, Texas and the Candy Lady. In the early 1900s, children in an unnamed rural town in Texas started to go missing, and the residents blamed it on the Candy Lane, according to Urban Legends Online. The story said she would go around leaving candy on children's windows, and eventually she would lure the kids out with notes attached, promising more candy. The story picked up steam when a farmer allegedly found rotten teeth on his farm, and later found the body of a young boy with his pockets stuffed with sweets. Now that's a heck of an urban legend right there. Next up, Tennessee, the boy in the bathroom at Pine Haven School. The Pine Haven School, located in Jamestown, is old and abandoned, and they still don't want certain people in the bathrooms. And it's said to be haunted, according to Urban Legends Online. A tragic story supposedly took place there, where a boy was cornered by a group of bullies in the bathroom and shoved into a mirror, which shattered and killed him. To avoid getting caught committing homicide, the bullies decided to bury the body underneath the floorboards. Today, people say that if you go inside the school, you can see the reflection of the boy if you look in the mirror. I'm surprised there's any mirrors left if the place is abandoned. And we have South Dakota, Walking Sam and the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. Boy, I hope I have enough states to go around. This is supposed to last 4 videos. I hope I counted these words, or else I'm screwed. Purportedly over 7 feet tall and very slim, Walking Sam is said to appear on the streets of the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation at night, and he tries to convince teenagers to take their own lives, according to Hot 104.7 FM. Boy, a lot of reports from radio stations here. whether or not Walking Sam is real. Something tragic is going on at the reservation. From December of 2014 to May of the next year, there were 103 attempts by people to end their lives at Pine Ridge, reported the Daily Dot. Then we have South Carolina. The death of Julia Lagar. In the 1800s, the Lagars were a well-to-do South Carolinian family that had homes on the mainland and on Edisto Island. The daughter Julia got sick, was pronounced dead, and was buried inside their family mausoleum, according to Edisto's website. Well, the island has a website, isn't that nice? Years later, a member of the Lagar family died, and when their tomb was opened up, the remains of Julia were found outside of her coffin. The story says that Julia had been in a coma and had woken up to try to escape her tomb, but sadly failed. After the first reopening of the Lagar mausoleum, the door can't seem to stay shut. The Lagars tried multiple different doors, and every single time the door was found open. People believe that the ghost of Julia did not want to be locked in that tomb any longer. And we'll pick up with the next state in reverse alphabetical order after this bit of art.
In Sedona, Arizona, 12 people are in the process of burying themselves alive in a ritual practiced by Indian tribes. As night falls, they enter their tombs.
My body felt like it was being buried alive. I had to remind myself that I was in a ritual.
The final board went over on top of me, and I started suffocating. And I could just feel my whole body tightening.
The feeling of being closed in, totally enclosed, almost no air supply. I was panicked when they slid the board across. I felt like I didn't have an option at this moment. It was done with, I'm being buried.
Today, I dug my own grave. This is definitely a fear, a good fear. It's pretty scary because somebody next door or something, one of the other tombs, you could hear somebody's trying to get out.
I was buried alive. Just because I came out doesn't mean I wasn't buried alive.
Air holes helped all 12 people survive being trapped underground with no method of escape.
Rhode Island, the Devil's Footprints. There is a rock on Devil's Foot Road that appears to show a normal human footprint and a cloven hoof, according to a Medium blog about New England folklore. The story goes that a Native American woman dispatched a white man there and then fled the scene of the crime. While running, she was stopped by another man. She cried out for the devil to save her. When the man admitted that he himself was the devil and stomped his feet on the ground to prove that he had a cloven hoof, which the rock still shows to this day, according to waymarking. Waymarking, huh? This rock is somewhere in the North Kingston, Rhode Island forest. Well, where's the mark of the... Wait a minute. They didn't show the marks? Oh, no fair. Pennsylvania, the bus to nowhere. In Philadelphia, there is rumored to be a bus. It does not have an end destination, according to Only in Your State. The story says that the bus only picks up passengers that are at their lowest moments, who need to get away from their problems. Once the passenger is ready to face the world, they can get off the bus. But the passenger has no idea how long they've been on the bus. It could have been hours, days, or even years. That's a pretty good one. And next, in reverse alphabetical order, Urban legends of all the states. We will branch out to the world in upcoming videos. Oregon, the Bandage Man of Cannon Beach. The Bandage Man is the American version of a mummy, reported the Cannon Beach History Center and Museum. He is rumored to be the ghost of a logger who died in a sawmill accident and now terrorizes teenagers who hang out at a deserted area of a highway near Cannon Beach. Stories say that he knocks on car windows to try to get in, and he smells really, really bad. Next up, Oklahoma, the mysterious shaman's portal. The mysterious occurrences in Beaver Dunes Park have been attributed to the fact that it was built upon ancient Native American burial grounds, which is why it's called the Shaman's Portal, according to Only in Your State. It's also known as the Oklahoma Bermuda Triangle. Mysterious things have happened in the park, starting with the Spanish conquistadors who went missing while searching for gold in the 1500s. Since then, paranormal activity seekers flocked to the dunes. Some people claim that a UFO crashed there, and a group in the 90s who tested the soil said it tested abnormal. Next up, Ohio, the Werewolf of Defiance. That's quite the nice picture, too. How did they do that? He must be standing on shore, hopefully. During the summer of 1972, the people of Defiance claimed they were being terrorized by a werewolf, according to Mysterious Universe. The sightings always happened at night, generally by the train tracks. A couple of women said it would try to get into their houses by rattling the doorknobs. The animal was said to be huge, hairy, and dressed in rags. But after the summer ended, the beast disappeared, never to be heard from again. Still, the story lingers. Now, it looks like he's dressed in more than rags. Looks like fur and leather, this guy. What he's into, we don't want to know. Then we have from North Dakota, White Lady Lane. The story of White Lady Lane is a tragic one, according to Only in Your State. The legend states that a young woman became pregnant out of wedlock, and her religious parents forced her to marry the father. The baby ended up passing away after their wedding. The girl, so upset about her baby and her forced marriage, did herself self-harm at a bridge in her wedding dress. Locals claim to still see her ghost hanging from the bridge. North Carolina, the Beast of Bladensboro. Most people have been convinced that the beast was a particularly large bobcat. But in the 1950s, multiple dogs were found dead and drained of blood in the North Carolina town of Bladensboro, according to North Carolina ghosts. People believe that there was a vampiric beast in the woods, and they tried to hunt the animal down. Today, the town of Bladensboro has embraced its history, and residents actually hold a beast fest every year. While some people are convinced the beast was probably a particularly large bobcat, it's never been confirmed exactly what was stalking their town. Does a bobcat tend to bleed its victims? New York, Cropsey. The story of Cropsey has many iterations, reports the lineup. But it generally tells the story of a man who stalked a sleepaway camp, / psychiatric facility, / children's hospital. Wait, sleepaway camp, or a psychiatric facility, or a children's hospital. He had a hook for a hand, and he dispatched children who were wandering alone at night. Every single person who went to camp in upstate New York has heard about Cropsey. Things took a more sinister turn when a documentary posited that Cropsey was actually real. A convicted child kidnapper named Andre Rand, according to a report in the New York Times. Next up, New Mexico, La Malahora. La Malahora, which translates to the evil hour, is an entity that you don't want to run into on a dark road. Legend says that at first it appears as a ball of black energy, constantly moving and changing its size and shape. If you look at it, it will drive you insane, and you'll slowly meet your demise. At other times, it appears as a scary-looking woman. It's said if you see her at a crossroads, you or someone in your family will expire. Ooh, the Jersey Devil coming up, but first, let's check out some art.
Remember that car from that stop sign back there? That truck? I think he might be following us.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. Nah, it's definitely somebody following us.
Because you flashed those fucking lights.
It's a myth, like it's not true.
You flashed the lights, now somebody's following us.
I gotta pull over.
Don't be a wise guy.
All right, next up, New Jersey and the Jersey Devil at Insider.com. And the list of urban legends by state, one urban legend per state, and we're going in reverse alphabetical order. The story of the Jersey Devil has been around since the 1700s, reports Weird New Jersey. The legend states that a woman named Mother Leeds became pregnant with her 13th child and said, "Let this one be a devil." Once the child was born, it grew hooves, wings, horns, and a tail. The monster has been spotted periodically throughout history in the Pine Barrens region of New Jersey. That state has embraced the legend so much that they named their hockey team after it. I wonder what the mascot looks like for the Jersey Devils. Next up, New Hampshire, the Witch of Hampton, Goody Cole. Eunice Goody Cole was the only woman in New Hampshire history to be tried for witchcraft, and more than once. Her first charge was in 1656, and she was charged again in 1671, according to the Hampton Historical Society. When she died and her body was recovered, the townspeople were rumored to have staked her through the heart to prevent her from haunting their town, according to Atlas Obscura. People continued to blame Goody for the misfortunes of Hampton citizens for the past 3 centuries. For example, a boat full of Hampton residents overturned and everyone on board drowned, even though they were in swimming distance of shore. People blamed Goody Cole for the crash and for cursing the passengers by having them forget how to swim. Don't they have life-saving vest requirements there in New Hampshire? Maybe not on the rivers. It doesn't make any sense, though. You'd think if they're responsible for these people, they ought to be making them wear vests. Nevada, the truth about Area 51. There is perhaps no urban legend more famous than Nevada's Area 51, a mysterious government facility rumored to be associated with aliens. The U.S. government officially states that Area 51 is classified due to national security, which only fuels the fire. The secrecy surrounding Area 51 is what makes it inherently creepy. And with the government admitting to a program investigating UFOs, the theories about what's actually going on inside continue to seem more plausible. Okay. Nebraska, the poisoned girl at Centennial Hall. When Insider chose the most haunted place in each state, Centennial Hall was a no-brainer. People claim that there are multiple ghosts roaming the halls. But the creepiest story of Centennial Hall originates in the 1940s, when it used to be a high school. The story says that a student was playing her clarinet, suffered a heart seizure, and passed away because her reed was poisoned. Now people claim to feel cold spots, hear disembodied music, and to have witnessed an empty rocking chair start to rock, according to the blog Teresa's Haunted History of the Tri-State. Next up in reverse alphabetical order of the states. Montana, the story of Sacrifice Cliff. As reported by the Billings Gazette, the story of Sacrifice Cliff comes from an old Native American legend. 2 members of the Crow tribe arrived in their village from a trip to find that almost everyone there had been infected with smallpox and passed away. So heartbroken about the loss of their loved ones, the 2 decided to blindfold their horses and ride off of the cliff to join the tribe on the other side. Sacrifice Cliff is visible from almost anywhere in Billings, so it's sad and a bit spooky to think about this story while the cliff is looming over the entire city. And it's not that very tall. Look, this is Sacrifice Cliff. There's the height of a tree. That's not a very tall cliff. Neither is that one over there. I mean, if that's the height of the trees on top. Wait, let's open up in a new tab here. Open image in new tab. Yes, please. And there's a tall tree right there. Who knows how many feet, but the cliff isn't that awful tall. But maybe Montana's very flat. This cliff seems a little bit taller in height compared to the tree height. Because it looks like you're also looking at a mound on top of the cliff that has trees growing on top of it. You have a tree with dirt under it. Yeah, that cliff seems a lot taller. Next state up. Missouri, Momo the Missouri Monster, which is so popular they have one paragraph on it. Momo is Missouri's version of Bigfoot or Sasquatch. He's been said to have a terrible body odor, a head shaped like a pumpkin, and an appetite for dogs. In 1968, Momo tried to abduct a 4-year-old boy, though no evidence was ever found, according to a report from a local radio station. No evidence was ever found of what? The abduction? Okay. Is the boy still missing? Mississippi, Deer Island's haunted treasure. The ghost of Deer Island, reported the Sun Herald, originates from an old pirate story. The story says that back in the 1920s, 2 men were fishing on Deer Island when they heard a rustling in the bushes, a noise they assumed to be caused by wild hogs. What they call boars, right? Eventually they decided to check it out and encountered a headless skeleton. They ran back to their boat, and the skeleton followed them all the way there. According to the pirate story, there was a ship that sailed into Biloxi Bay and buried their treasure on Deer Island. The crew decided to behead one of their own and left his body behind to guard their treasure. Next up on the state list, the Kensington Runestone in Minnesota. The stone is displayed in Alexandria. Look at that, will ya? That's got like, it looks like English letters on it. Let's take a closer look at that. What kind of letters would you call those? I forget where they came down. There's an A, right? V, N, X? Maybe not. Looks like an M, actually. Wow, cool. In 1898, a Swedish-American farmer found a gigantic slab of rock on his farm that had symbols that appeared to be Norse. And since then, no one has figured out where it came from. While most historians have debunked the rock, now known as the Kensington Rune, according to Atlas Obscura, due to dating and inconsistencies with the Norse language of the time, the myth has persisted. But if it wasn't the Vikings, who did leave this mysterious rock? And what does it say? Well, that sounds pretty cool, man. Makes me want to look that up right now. Not going to do it, though. There's another very short story associated with a radio station. Michigan. The little girl on Knock Knock Road, and we'll find out all about this little girl on Knock Knock Road in one paragraph, after a little bit of art. Next up for a state, and our last time in this list. This is the last for this list. Michigan, the little girl on Knock Knock Road. The legend of Knock Knock Road, whose real name is Strasburg Road, locating in Grossa, it says here. Something. As reported by 99.1 WMFK-FM, says that there was a little girl who was dispatched on Knock Knock Road in the Detroit area, and now she appears to drivers at their car window, knocking, trying to find the person who entered her life. Two Feathers, thank you for the super chat. Much appreciated, ma'am. You are the woman, thank you. Much appreciated. Much needed. Thank you, Two Feathers. Next up, in reverse alphabetical order, Massachusetts, the spirits of Hoosick Tunnel. In the 24-year-long construction of the Hoosick Tunnel in Western Mass, approximately 200 men died. Death was so associated with the tunnel that it was nicknamed the Bloody Pit, according to Atlas Obscura. After a particularly gruesome explosion in 1868, 13 miners were trapped inside the tunnel. The other workers assumed the miners had died, but eventually it was discovered that the miners had lived, built a raft to combat flooding, and eventually died due to poisonous gas inhalation. It's said that these 13 miners haunted the tunnel for years, moaning and briefly appearing as ghosts. Maryland, Chessie, the Chesapeake Bay Monster. Chessie sightings have been around since the 1930s, but really started to pick up steam in the 80s when photographic evidence became more readily available, as reported by WBAL-TV. Chessie is said to resemble a snake, measure about 30 feet long, and is the approximate thickness of a telephone pole. There haven't been any recorded attacks from Chessie, but a 30-foot-long snake does not sound like something most people would want to run into. Next up from Maine, the mysterious stain on Colonel Jonathan Buck's tomb. Look at how the railroad tracks run right into a dirt embankment here. Buck's tomb is in the town bearing his name, Bucksport. The tomb of Colonel Jonathan Buck in Bucksport bears a mysterious leg-shaped stain. The story goes that Buck sentenced a woman to burn for witchcraft. And while she was burning, her leg rolled out of the fire. It's also been said that the witch cursed Buck's tomb to always bear a stain for this injustice, as reported by the Bangor Daily News. Much read by Stephen King, by the way. It is said that people have tried to get rid of this stain twice, but the stain keeps reappearing. And why not show us a picture of the stain? I am incensed. We do not get to see a picture of the Bucksport stain. What is it called again? Stain on Colonel Jonathan Buck's tomb. That shouldn't be too hard to see, right? Let's just get a picture of this now. We'll just duplicate this tab. Very good. Go home. Search for that stain. Pictures only, please. That's just a crime, not showing the damn stain. Ooh, no kidding. Why couldn't they have not shown a stain? Give me a break. There it is right there, and there it is there. Isn't that interesting? They tried to get rid of the stain, they said. Is there a more better resolution picture here? Maybe that one? All these look really low res. How about this one? They're all credited to Roadside America. And they're all very poor resolution so far. Here we go. Open image in new tab, please. Down, Devoured Eagle says, inquiring minds want to see them stains. Isn't that something? That is so interesting. Supposedly they tried to get rid of the stain. Why? It's the town's one tourist attraction. I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'll say it anyway. They could have shown the devil's foot earlier too, but no. It's just too far beyond them to look at the millions of pictures in a 1-minute search and find it immediately. Just too much. Good line for Verpine. It's a stain on the community. In Louisiana, the Grunch make their home in East New Orleans. Grunch Road is an old dirt road that leads deep into the woods and eventually to a dead end. It was a favorite place for teenagers to go and do whatever teenagers do until they learned about the Grunch. According to Exemplore, the Grunch are rumored to be a group of deformed, half-human, half-monsters that resulted from years of isolation in the Louisiana bayous. In the present day, it's said that if you find yourself on Grunch Road, don't get out of your car if you see a goat that looks injured. The stories say that the Grunch use goats to lure people out of their cars so they can eat them and drain their blood. That's the people, not the goats. Takahomosen 2 says, the lost cousin of the Grinch is the Grunch. Two Feathers says, I heard a lot of these witches were widows, who when they were burned, the townspeople distributed their property amongst themselves. Wow. How about in Kentucky, the goat man of Pope Lick? He's been spotted underneath this trestle. Well, finally, an appropriate picture. Although the underneath of the trestle might have been of more help. It looks like the middle. You see tree trunks underneath there. So that's just like in the middle of the trestle right here, this bar. There's no clear consensus on how the goat man came to be. Some say he was a circus performer. Others say he was a farmer who tortured his goats on behalf of Satan, and in return was transformed into a hideous goat monster. What a reward. However, everyone does agree on his appearance. Dark fur, pale skin, goat legs and horns, reports Wave 3, a local news outlet. The monster is said to hide under the bridge at Pope Lick Creek in Louisville to lure people onto the train tracks, only to see them be hit by oncoming trains. Sadly, this urban legend has some dangerous consequences. In 2016, a woman from Ohio fell to her death from the bridge while looking for the goat man, according to the Washington Post. Kansas, the Devil's Chair. Of course, they're not going to show that picture either, are they? The chair is located in Alma Cemetery. Well, then why don't you show it? Kansas, the Devil's Chair. Duplicate again, I guess. Home. The Devil's Chair, please. And pictures only. The devil comes to Kansas City. Come on, where's that damn chair? I think this is it right here. Look at that, will you? The Devil's Chair. Definitely not in that picture. According to Only in Your State, the legend of the Devil's Chair goes like this. I doubt that cemetery is even in Kansas. An old farmer in Alma refused to sell his land to the city in order to build a new cemetery. Someone got a little too tired of waiting for him to sell, so he was pushed into his own well. Eventually, someone said there was a terrible smell coming from the well, so the city sent someone to investigate. It was ruled that the well was empty, so it was boarded up. Now, if you make your way to Alma, you can actually sit on the boarded-up well. But legend says that people who have sat on the well have been known to mysteriously disappear. What does that have to do with the devil's chair? Is that the devil's chair in Kansas? There's another one, the Baird chair, it's called as well, because it says Baird on it. The Kansas ghost story. Here's a different chair. There's the witch's chair. This is Duncan's devil chair. This is the devil's chair in Greenwood. Damn, don't put a chair in a cemetery. Sparrow says Tineye is really handy for finding out where images have been uploaded and such. Yeah, I tried Tineye. I find that Yandex is a little bit better, so I've been using Yandex. Tineye has some faults. Sparrow, you should check us out on Twitch when we're putting these shows together. And I can show you Yandex in action. It is much superior to Tineye. Google used to be #1, but then they changed their search results so that the lookalike pictures were no longer listed in order of size. And then the returned results are useless when you have to hunt for the biggest one. Sparrow says there is a gravestone for a boy designed by his father. The boy was sick all his life and died young. So the marker is him rising from his wheelchair and reaching for the sky. Oh, that's quite nice. Quite nice. Thank you, Sparrow. Next up, the more creepy urban history with very few pictures supporting. Here we go. This might be the Black Angel, actually. Iowa. She's located in Oakland Cemetery, where the Black Angel stands over 8 foot tall. It's in Iowa City, and she's black due to oxidation. Most likely because of her dark appearance, multiple legends have cropped up around her, according to Atlas Obscura. One legend says that a pregnant woman should never walk under her, or she will lose a child. Others say that if you touch or kiss the statue, you will no longer be with us within 6 months. Whether haunted or cursed or completely harmless, the statue is definitely a somber sight to see. Next in Indiana, the 100 Steps Cemetery, which is located in the town of Brazil, according to the Brazil Times. Well, it is not clear when the stories about the cemetery being haunted began. There are gravestones that date back to the 1860s. So the town isn't very old, I guess, huh? Casual Kitty with some research. The chair was the remains of the well that had been covered in board. It's now been filled and covered. Thank you, Casual Kitty. Excellent research. The legend states that if someone finds themselves in this cemetery at midnight, they must climb the steps and count to 100. At this point, a ghost of an undertaker will appear and show the person a vision of their own demise. On the way back down, the visitor is supposed to count the steps again. If they count the same amount of steps, the vision was false. People who visit the cemetery in the past have tried to outsmart the supernatural forces in 100 steps by avoiding the steps altogether. They reported being knocked or shoved to the ground by an unseen force, according to Indiana ghost detectives. Am I going overtime here? I'm going overtime, aren't I? Yes, definitely, Bill. You're going overtime. Right? Right. We're past time for some artwork here.
Growing up in Decatur, Illinois, I've heard all the legends. Of these legends, the most prominent is that of Hell's Hollow, attached to the wooded area behind Greenwood Cemetery. In my own experience with the Hollow, I've walked the path which leads behind the cemetery many times with friends. It's black. More than pitch black. It's an area where no light enters at night. The path is almost a mile long, and unless you have a flashlight or lantern, you won't be able to see a foot in front of you. What's even eerier than the lack of light is the lack of sound as well. It's almost as if you're in a sound booth. There are woods on either side of the paved path, which means there should be sounds of animals and trees, but there's nothing. Not a creak or chirp. The closest thing I've ever attained was a single photo that, when turned on its side, looks like two spirits, a male and a female, in a loving embrace, with what appears to be something of a demonic face within the lower portion of the photo, looking up at the two. One of the legends which has been attributed to this place is that of a blizzard during the 1800s, which resulted in a few residents who lived atop the hill getting snowed in for weeks, unable to make it into the town. The family had to survive by eating tree bark soup. They would strip the bark off the surrounding trees and boil it in pots of water to eat. After a few weeks of this, the tree bark soup wasn't cutting it. Eventually, family members began dying off from the starvation and cold. Those who still lived would store the dead in the snow until they were able to hold funerals when the ground was thawed. However, the survivors weren't going to make it unless they took extreme action. This action was the same way in which the Donner Party survived. They had to eat the flesh of their dead. Decatur is listed as one of the most haunted places in the world.
Okay, then we go to Illinois, right? We did Indiana. Illinois, Homie the Clown. Thought the suburbs of Chicago in the 90s. There was a rumor going around elementary schools. There was a creepy man dressed as Homie the Clown from In Living Color, driving around in a white van trying to lure kids into it with candy and money, according to Chicago Reader and the Chicago Tribune. In some variations, he was a kidnapper. In others, worse. Although how you get worse than a kidnapper, I don't know. But in all variations, Homie left a mark on young Chicago kids in the 90s. I guess you can be worse than a kidnapper. Kidnapper's pretty bad anyway. It's all bad, don't do it. From Idaho, the water babies of Massacre Rocks. Water babies are a Native American legend that are found in a couple of different places in America, but most famously in Pocatello at the Massacre Rock State Park. The Shoshone tribe was first recorded in 1805, according to the Encyclopedia of the Great Plains, and were roaming the Great Plains as early as the 1500s. So it's not clear when exactly this legend originated. But the story goes that the Shoshone experienced an extreme famine, and mothers were forced to drown their children in the river rather than watch them starve, as told by Weird US. Today, some people claim that if you sit quietly at the river by Massacre Rocks, you'll hear the sound of babies crying. Other stories say that these babies grew gills and fins and survived, and now seek revenge on their mothers by luring unsuspecting victims to their demise in the river. Hawaii, the Night Marchers, of course. Night Marchers, according to Honolulu Magazine, are not evil spirits, but they do demand respect. They are the spirits of ancient Hawaiian warriors who march around the islands to protect sacred areas. Legend says that if you look directly at a night marcher, you may be marked for death. And if by some chance you find yourself in the middle of a procession, You're supposed to lie down in the middle of the road. Georgia, the ghost town of Lake Lanier. Across the bottom of Lake Lanier lies an almost fully intact towns, ferries, a racetrack, and multiple burial grounds. The Georgia government, in its determination to create Lake Lanier, bought up entire towns in order to clear the space for the lake after they received congressional approval in 1946. However, they just decided to let the water cover up the towns rather than demolishing them. I guess that's the cheaper way to go. Now Lake Lanier has a decidedly eerie feel about it. There have been an unusual number of freak accidents and deaths on the lake. From 1994 to 2020, there have been a total of 203 drownings, according to CNN. Many of the bodies of people who drowned have never been recovered. People who reported feeling arms and legs in the water, reports CNN, but have not been able to find them right after, leading people to believe that the spirits still roam the lake. Wow, that's kind of weird stuff. That's a lot, says Two Feathers. Florida, the gravity-defying Spook Hill. And here we have some reading. Yeah, I guess this is right, the sign that's to the right of Spook Hill. The Legends of Spook Hill. And we'll read after this story. I bet there's not much of the story here anyway. Yeah. The phenomenon that happens at Spook Hill is real. Cars that are parked in neutral will roll uphill, according to Atlas Obscura. Legend says that the hill is either the site of a Native American burial ground or the site of an epic battle of a Native American chief against a crocodile. But the truth is it's actually just an illusion created by the hill's surroundings. While cars appear to be rolling uphill, they are rolling downhill. I don't know if that's been proved or not, but here's what the sign says. Ages ago, an Indian town on Lake Wales was plagued with raids by a huge gator. The town's great warrior chief and the gator were killed in a final battle. They created the huge swampy depression nearby. The chief was buried on its north side. Later, pioneer haulers coming from the old army trail atop the ridge found their horses laboring here at the foot of the ridge and called it Spook Hill. Is it the gator seeking revenge or the chief protecting his land? Stop car on white line, place in neutral, and let it roll back.
Today, we are at Spook Hill in Lake Wales, Florida. Rumor has it, it's a haunted hill. Something about a giant alligator at some point that was in the area, and an Indian killed it, and now the alligator is getting revenge on people. It makes their cars roll uphill instead of downhill. We're gonna try it out.
This is the historic Spook Hill in Lake Wales, Florida. And it's got instructions on the sign there. It tells you to stop the car on the white line, place it in neutral, and let it go. And right across the street is an elementary school. And it's called Spook Hill Elementary School. And their mascot is Casper. I would have loved to have gone to a school called Spook Hill with a ghost for a mascot. On the other side of the white line, where the sign is, the hill goes back up again. So basically it's sort of a little U-shape valley that we're looking at. And you go up to that white line and you put your car in neutral, let go of the brake, and it's gonna pull you backwards up that hill. We're gonna park the car right here, put it in neutral, let it go. Notice the car starts moving right away in reverse. And you'll see pretty soon here that here we go. We're leaving that little flat area, and now we're going up backwards. We're going up the hill backwards. If you look at it from the top of the hill, you can sort of see we're going backwards, and we start going up the little incline behind us right there. So kind of what it looks like from the reverse. And that's the magic that's behind Spook Hill.
Spook Hill is better in person than it is on camera. I'd never seen a Gravity Hill before. Now I have. If you want to experience one for yourself, you can come out to Lake Wales and see it.
Delaware, the ghost of Mr. Chu. While not a particularly mean-spirited ghost, Samuel Chu's story, as told in Haunted Delaware, is still disconcerting. Chu was the Chief Justice of the Delaware Supreme Court in 1741. As the story goes, while he was alive, he did not always get the respect he deserved. People frequently made fun of his name by mimicking sneezes while he walked by. Samuel Chu, Chu, I guess, right? Ha 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 ha, plop. After his death, people reported seeing his ghost sitting under a poplar tree, wandering the courthouse, and generally creeping out the residents of Dover. Chu would also pull on men's coattails and give women a cold, icy feeling. Okay. And then from Connecticut, Hannah Cranna. Known as the Wicked Witch of Monroe, according to CT Insider, Hannah Cranna gained a reputation as a witch in the 19th century when her husband died by mysteriously falling off a cliff. And locals reportedly believed that she had bewitched him. People also believed that she would cast spells on people she didn't like. Hannah lived to the age of 77, but right before she died, she has to be carried down to the cemetery in her coffin by foot, not wagon. After her death, the people of Monroe tried to wheel her coffin down the hill, but were unable. The coffin kept falling off, so they were forced to carry it. When the townspeople returned to her home, it was found to be engulfed in flames, sealing Hannah's reputation of witchcraft. Now you can visit her real grave in Trumbull. Colorado, the many legends of Riverdale Road. Riverdale Road is the site of not one but 8 creepy stories, ranging from a Hell's Gate to ghosts of slaves hanging from the trees. The stretch of road is decidedly spooky, as reported by local news affiliate Fox 31. The creepiest story, though, is that of the Phantom Jogger. One day there was a driver who hit a jogger and left him for dead. Now it's said that if you park at the site of the crash, you will hear disembodied footsteps getting closer and closer to your car. People have reported handprints on their windows and banging noises as if someone was kicking the outside of their vehicle. This is supposedly a portion of the Riverdale Road in the photograph. Looks like it's long and desolate. California, the Charman. The Charman's origin story, told in Western folklore, is gruesome. A father and son were both caught in a house fire and horribly burnt in 1948. After the fire, the son became so mentally unstable that he killed his father. When police found the son, he was so unrecognizably burnt, they didn't realize he was alive. So he ran away before they were able to arrest him for the murder. The story goes that ever since then, the Charman can be spotted wandering the woods surrounding Ojai, occasionally approaching tents of innocent campers, or pretending to be a hitchhiker, and then attempting to attack anyone offering him a ride. Getting to the A's, yes, Arkansas, the Boggy Creek Monster, about which there's a famous film. According to Atlas Obscura, The Boggy Creek monster of Spook is Arkansas's version of Sasquatch. He's commonly accepted to be around 7 or 8 feet tall and covered in hair. Legend says that he roams the creeks of rural Arkansas. He was first spotted in 1834 when people reported seeing a wild man. These days, after people claim to see the Boggy Creek Monster, the sightings are documented on the official Boggy Creek Monster website. He has been the subject of 5 feature-length films, including 1972's The Legend of Boggy Creek. That's the one I was thinking of. It's quite an interesting movie. Great movie, says one Sean Bond. He prefers Boggy Creek 2, however. Arizona, the ghost of Slaughterhouse Canyon. The story of Slaughterhouse Canyon, not pictured, also called the less frightening Luana's Canyon, takes place during the gold rush, according to the miner. During the 1800s, there was a family who lived in the canyon. They were very poor, so the father would venture out for food and for his family. As you might have guessed, one day the father did not return, so his family slowly starved and descended into madness. The mother, unable to bear listening to her children's suffering, put on her wedding dress, dispatched her children, and then threw them into a nearby river. The next day, she herself succumbed to starvation. The legend says that if you go down to Slaughterhouse Canyon at night, even now, you will hear the loud, anguished cries of the mother who lost her mind and her temperament. Alaska, the Kushtaka of the Alaskan Triangle. Alaska's coastline is over 33,000 miles long. Let's build a wall. Everyone knows the story of the Bermuda Triangle, but you might not know about the Alaskan Triangle. On average, 5 out of every 1,000 people go missing in Alaska. The Los Angeles Times reported in 2005. So even if there's nothing supernatural going on, it's easy to get lost there, in the wilderness. The Tlingit tribe, who lived in Juneau, have their own explanation for the high number of missing people. Evil spirits called the Kushtaka. According to books such as In Search of the Kushtaka, Alaska's Other Bigfoot, the Kushtaka are shapeshifters, half man, half otter, who lure women and children to the water with fake cries in order to steal their human spirits and drown them. Thank you, one Sean Bond. The Lazarus Project says Alaska has no triangle. It's just hard to survive conditions up there. Alabama and Hell's Gate Bridge. Well, it isn't very tall, is it? It says here, the bridge. Doesn't look very substantial, does it? The generally accepted story of Hell's Gate Bridge starts in the 1950s. According to the Oxford Paranormal Society, a young couple driving over the bridge somehow drove their car off the bridge, and one night they both drowned. There are 2 legends associated with Hell's Gate Bridge. One, that if you drive your car out to the middle of the bridge and turn off your lights, the dead couple will magically appear in your car and leave a wet spot on your seat. The other, which is how the bridge got its name, is the belief that if you drive over the bridge and look over your shoulder halfway through, the scenery behind you turns into a portal to hell engulfed in flames. So don't go into reverse at this time. Potentially to curb ghost hunters and bored teenagers, Hell's Gate Bridge is now closed to car traffic, according to the Anniston Star. And it is in such disrepair that even walking across is strongly discouraged.
Well, we want to thank you folks for coming on our tour today. Didn't find no Squatch this time, but there's always next time.
So, what'd you think, hun?
It's crap.
We should have gone to Bigfoot America. They always catch Bigfoot.
And don't forget to stop at the Bigfoot Burger Barn and pick up one of our tasty Yeti.
Two all-American brothers with one all-American business.
This business has been in our family since 1892. It's been passed down from his pappy to his pappy's pappy to his pappy's pappy pappy.
So, what you guys like doing stuff?
Their family business has fallen on hard times.
Can't believe we're gonna get bought out by that big Sasquatch hunting company. We're in a pickle now, Paul. What are we gonna do?
You know, what about that brother-in-law of yours, the one that dabbles in black arts?
Oh, he's in prison now.
Oh, that's right, he's on death row.
It's a damn shame what he did to that dog.
You know what we're gonna have to do? Reopen the moonshine distillery?
The distillery done got blown up.
No, that was the meth lab.
Oh, yeah. What we need here is to catch ourselves a real Sasquatch. We just need the right bait, and I think what we need is a woman's touch.
Someone there?
They got her! They got her!
Who? Bigfoot?
No! Bigfoot America!
Where did they take her?
The only place they could.
The corporate office.
You people don't know how deep this goes.
This summer, two brothers fight to save their way of life.
What the hell do you mean I'm half Bigfoot?
A new Lifetime movie, Bigfoot Finders.
You don't have the guts to use that.
I'm gonna take this Japanese tennis racket and ram it up your hairy ass, monkey boy.
Let's go over here to 8 urban legends from Oklahoma. It will keep you awake at night. They're still kind of short. At least the pictures are bigger and hopefully more applicable. Okay, Oklahoma. Number 1, Bigfoot. In southeast Oklahoma, the thick forest is known for its unusually high number of Bigfoot sightings. The first sighting was in 1970, when a teenager wandered onto a back road in Tallahena. It was there where he described seeing the Green Hill Monster. Police investigated the area and found many dead animals in the vicinity. Many more sightings have been reported over the decades, but the creature itself has never been caught. No kidding, if it had been, we'd sure know about it. Bobby Creek Crybaby Bridge. Almost every bridge built in the 1900s in Oklahoma has a Crybaby Bridge story. This is the only one that has a specific date. The incident allegedly occurred, though. On June 13th, 1924, a young mother was crossing the bridge with her baby when a storm came. Lightning struck her horse and carriage and knocked her baby away. She couldn't find her, but could hear her crying. Desperately, she looked for her baby over the side of the bridge, but she fell into the Verdigris River, never to be seen again. Legend has it that if you park your car on the bridge on any Friday the 13th and turn your motor off, you will hear the baby crying. The bridge is no longer accessible, but it can be seen by way of a nearby road. Whether you can hear the crying baby from there is unknown. Armando with the super chat. Thank you, Armando. Much appreciated, sir. Armando with a cute little chick gif. Thank you so much, sir. Much appreciated and needed. Number 3, the Tulsa Hex House. In the 1940s, Tolsons would have known the address, 10 East 21st Street, as the home of Carol Ann Smith. Smith was found guilty of housing 2 religious slaves in cages in her basement for over a decade. The house became known as the Hex House, since the slaves were under some sort of hex, or so it is said. The house has since been torn down, but rumor has it that the basement is still under the pavement, and still incredibly scary. Number 4, Magnetic Kill, and we heard about this from our viewership. This fun mystery is located in Springer, Oklahoma, on Pioneer Road. If you put your car in neutral at the bottom of the hill, a mysterious force will pull your vehicle up the hill. Some say the magnetic force in the area is so strong it could crash a plane. We were not able to find any accounts of this actually happening. Another theory is that ghosts of car crashers from the past pull your car away from where they died themselves. If you don't believe in these legends, you might think it's just an optical illusion. But we don't believe that here at Night Terrors. We don't believe in the debunking here. And then there's the Purple Church in Oklahoma, one of the state's most infamous legends. The Purple Church is located near Spencer. Although not an actual church, this concrete foundation has steps leading to an underground cellar. It's believed that the cellar belonged to an old, torn-down church. And the purple in the name comes from the purple satanic markings on the entrance of the cellar, although all I see here are blue, green, and yellow. But there's a slight purple towards the top there. Maybe there's more purple we can't see. Many say black magic rituals have been performed here, and several paranormal stories have been reported. Many of them come from credible sources. Policeman. Located in Beaver Sands, the Shaman's Portal is known as Oklahoma's Bermuda Triangle. Several people have reportedly disappeared here. The theory? Legend has it that this area is a UFO crash site, and all the people that report about it can no longer be found or contacted. As in, they must have disappeared. Murdoch's Mansion. According to legend, this mansion was located near 111th and Sheridan in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Let me try that again. According to legend, this mansion was located near the intersection of 111th and Sheridan in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The mansion was torn down after a fire burned off most of it to an unrecognizable powder. They say devil worship and strange happenings went on there. For example, if you stepped foot onto the property, eerie feelings would overwhelm the trespasser, and many felt disoriented and would even faint. Number 8, the Hornet Spook Light. Is there only 8 of these? It says 8 urban legends, yeah. Hopefully there's comments. We have to stretch here. This mysterious light of an unknown origin can be observed to this day on the Oklahoma-Missouri border. Many have concluded that this strange appearance of light can be explained by automobiles' headlights reflecting from miles away. However, sightings of these lights were reported well before automobiles ever existed, so we have doubts that that's what's going on. Okay, commentary. Oh, wait. Have you ever visited any of these spots? Tell us what we missed in the comments. Is there any comments? More to explore, haunted places, abandoned places. 6 haunted streets in Oklahoma. What do you mean, no comments? I guess that hasn't got around, that article, huh? No comments, evidently. Well, let's go to the very bottom. No, there's no very bottom. It's just one article after another without any comments whatsoever. Anyway, urban legends in Oklahoma, more to explore. What are the scariest Oklahoma ghost stories? Oklahoma is absolutely no stranger to some spooky tales. It seems like no matter where you go, there's a ghost story involving it in some way. There are so many creepy, if not scary stories, creepy, if not scary, okay, that float around our beautiful state. It's hard to pick just a few. For example, the Little Theater in Tulsa is a local legend because of its ghosts. Verpeen with a super chat and popcorn. Thank you, Verpeen. It's about popcorn time. Thank you, V, my biggest contributor. The world-famous Route 66 segment that runs through the state is filled with tales of spectral hitchhikers, disappearing pedestrians, and so much more. For some examples of the ghosts said to be wandering the lands of Oklahoma, as well as their stories, check out another article. Okay, let's check out some art.
Hillside Cemetery was built in the late 1800s, and there was a woman that's rumored to be buried there that was a witch, and demons guard her grave.
Ghosts have a harder time of manifesting themselves because the sun washes the earth clean. Can I bring him back again? I shall go to him. Okay, so whether the witch is here or not, the witch is supposed to haunt the grave of her husband. I'll just put my foot on it. I'm gonna stand up and put my foot on the grave. This is gonna anger some demons. I do feel like disrespectful leaning on this.
The grave of the husband of the witch that reportedly, supposedly, tried to dig up her husband multiple times and cast spells to resurrect him.
Apparently there's a whole big conspiracy about Oral Roberts and the people who run the university and the overall organization. There's talks of like satanic rituals and people being sacrificed.
Oral Roberts drinking blood.